Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 30 of the Survival Project. Today's episode is with Oliver, who shares his journey of living with psoriasis, navigating years of illness, and then eventually being diagnosed with IBD, all while in the middle of the chaos of 2020. We go deep into the ripple effect that chronic illness has, not just on us, but those around us. We also dive into how Oliver turned his own pain into purpose by building Chronicare, a platform designed to help people living with IBD track their symptoms, feel less alone, and take more control of life between hospital appointments. So let's get into it. Oliver, welcome to the Survival Project. We have been looking to get this in the book for a while, so I am buzzing to have this conversation. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Really been looking forward to this conversation. Yeah, as you said, we've been trying to get this in the book for a while, and I kind of feel I know you already. You know, we are pushing some content on social media and doing what we can do. So I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, likewise. Like when I saw your content, it really resonated with my own journey and the way you're able to speak it so eloquently about everything that goes on in your life, which is just the truth and the lived experience of living with chronic illness. I suppose just so everyone, like I get a bit of the story, but for anyone who doesn't know yet, can you dive into your story a bit for us?
Yeah, I mean, I can have the long version of the story and the short version, but I'd say try to keep it somewhere in between. My name is Oliver, and I come from Denmark. I have been living with chronic diseases for half of my life, 15, 16 years now. It started with psoriasis, which is a complete other autoimmune condition that have its own challenges. Ended up into being Crohn's, or not from psoriasis to Crohn's, but I got diagnosed with Crohn's from 6 years ago. So in 2020, that was quite of a journey. Also getting diagnosed and hospitalized right when COVID broke out. So it was March 2020. So everything was chaos, right? If this disease isn't chaos enough in its first place. So yeah, I've been living with that since then, and trying to navigate my way around in how to do this, and have tried to. I don't want to say I've tried to build my life around it, but I've tried to integrate it into my life in a way that makes sense. So yeah, here I am right now in the north of Denmark, visiting my parents. That's the short story of where I'm from and what I'm doing.
Yeah, and you, from the work that you do and the business that you've started, you're doing an amazing job at actually integrating into it. You've found a real purpose in your own your life experience and what you've had to go through. I just want to circle back before we dive into Chronicare.
Absolutely.
Psoriasis, was that your that was the first kind of symptoms that showed there was something kind of going on?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was a teenager, and suddenly I just had some things on my skin that I noticed. Well, this isn't normally there, and then it kind of grew over some years. And in the beginning, I was like, yeah, whatever, that will pass. But as these conditions really get hold on you, like many autoimmune conditions, you start feeling it mentally as well. And I think that was really the beginning of me of understanding, okay, this is a chronic disease and I need to find out how to live with this mentally, because there's such a big taboo around psoriasis as well. And you can't really hide it. I mean, you try to, definitely. You don't wear black clothes. You don't want the white scales on your shoulder, and you wear long pants and so on. So you try to hide it, but yeah, it's not easy when you can see it on the skin, and then you have to find out how to live with that.
Oh, so many people who live with IBD who have psoriasis as well. I myself have psoriasis. It comes and goes.
Right.
I found when I was traveling previously in the sunshine, it got really, really good. I was looking at my skin being like, I need to move to a warmer climate. This is just beautiful. It's best I see my skin in a long time. But as you said, visually, it's very hard with the flakes and everything like that. And getting diagnosed with it at such a young age, like we're such an impressionable state when we're kind of in our teenage years, and like everything's so visual. We want to be cool. We want to be all the different things that go with it. So very tough. And then but at a time after that, how long was it before your IBD symptoms kind of started?
Yeah, I can kind of take you through this whole journey, because I think it's important for people to understand how a journey is from the first symptoms to diagnosis, and then afterwards how you live with it, because it's different stages, right? And what I know and hear from other people with IBD is that the route to having your first symptom to getting a diagnosis is so long. It's so difficult, and you go through so many appointments, and already there you start to having some kind of, do you not believe what I'm saying? Can you not believe what I am in agony? This is not normal. It's not normal to have blood. But let me take you through the story, because I actually think it's a good story now looking at back in hindsight. But I think it was maybe 8-9 months before I got my diagnosis. I just started having weird symptoms with my bowel, but I didn't really think it was odd. So I went to the bathroom suddenly 5-6 times a day, and I was like, I don't know, maybe that's just how it is, or I'm eating, or I'm stressed right now. And then that kind of went on for some months, and then I started getting a lot of pain and fatigue. Like I was thinking, okay, maybe it's just I'm working too much right now, or no, I'm stressed with this or that. So I didn't really pay much attention to it. And it's really first when you see the blood, right? Like you see there's blood when you go to the toilet, and you're like, okay, this is not right. And I unfortunately went through a rabbit hole on the internet on finding out what it is before I went to the doctor. And if I had to give one, one good advice, is like, do not do that. I think you can find great advice from people with lived experience on the internet, but you need to understand what it is that you're dealing with from a medical perspective first, and then you can go out and find out what's going on. But anyway, I went to my doctor, I had blood, and they were like, okay. They checked me, finger in the butt, and were doing blood test, and like, yeah, okay, I can't see anything right now, and maybe just monitor it and come back if it keeps going. I went to the bathroom more often. I started getting more pain. I started seeing more blood. Again, went back to the doctor, and he was like, okay, well, let's take some more tests. And nothing in the blood works, or calprotecting test at that time also didn't show anything, which was weird. And then I finally got like pushed private clinics. So in Denmark, you have the public health system, and normally you always go there. It works really, really well in a lot of instances. But here, the waiting time and the belief in me was just not there. Went to a private clinic and basically just ordered a sigmoidoscopy, a procedure to look up in the first section of your bowels, your large bowel. And that was a horrible experience. I didn't get any intro to what was going to happen. They basically just inserted it with no anesthesia. And I remember just laying there on my back feeling really ashamed and really like, just why did I feel like it was, how do you say that? Like
an invasion.
Invasion,
Yeah.
completely. And I went out from there and was kind of shocked. I was like, okay, well, maybe that's going to give me some answers. The answers came back, and they're like, well, they can see some inflammation, but not enough to say anything more. So now I'm back there. At this point, I think it's February 2020. So this has been going on with doctors for like maybe half a year, back and forth, more symptoms and so on. And it's 2020, and I'm at my family's, visiting them for a while, and it's just getting worse, and I'm getting into these rabbit holes, and I'm trying to find out what works and what doesn't work, until my body basically kind of gave up. I never experienced such pain, and the blood just kept coming, mucus, and it ended up with just being, okay, we need to rush you to the hospital. And you would think that they would take me serious. I went into the doctor, I told him about it. I even took pictures of it because I was so desperate of showing, like, look, this is real. Like, proof. I am suffering. Proof right here. The doctors, like 70 plus something, told me, yeah, it's normal to have blood in your feces sometimes. In what world? I'm sorry if you feel that is normal, and if you're experiencing that, you need your own tests. But I was shocked. I went back. I simply just got thrown back. And now it was like Easter, and I remember this so clearly because I could not eat anything. If I took a bite, in Denmark, you have a tradition of eating rye bread in Easter, and that's very tough on your digestive system. But it's also Easter tradition. It's very delicious. I mean, there's things on the rye bread. It's not that just dry bread. It's not that bad a cuisine up here. But I remember that, and I couldn't stay at the table with my family. I had to go in, and I was laying there completely like in foster position, and my dad came in to me, laid next to me, and I remember there was just a moment where I could feel how much this also affects the people around me. And I looked at my dad and I was like, will I ever be able to eat again? Because at that time, I've been through so much already. No one is helping me. Now I can't eat. Is this how my life is going to be? I didn't even have a diagnosis. And he just, looked at me, and he's been with me through this whole process, and he started tearing up and crying and said, I don't know, Oliver. And that's how this disease, already before a diagnosis, affects you and the people around you. Even though they want to help you, even though they want the best for you, like, you're just completely helpless. And I actually feel a lot for the people around us, because it is difficult to navigate for them as it is for us. But anyway, I finally got a colonoscopy, and I was diagnosed first with Crohn's disease, and then I had to wrap my head around that, and I had anesthesia, and I was like, I remember being pretty high on those drugs afterwards and not really realizing what was happening. My mom thought it was a great trip home. But then I got they took biopsies as well. And then so the biopsy shows you have ulcerative colitis. And So right now it's indeterminate IBD, right? So it's just IBD. So I actually, honestly, from a clinical perspective, it's difficult knowing what they're treating me for right now. But you know that feeling when I feel I have Crohn's? I feel like the symptoms are not just in my large bowel. I can feel I had it in my mouth, I had it in my throat, I had it everywhere, right? But they couldn't prove it. But so 15% of people with IBD is like indeterminate or what you call it. And that's where I am. And then happened is that I got home from the hospital and then I got like Asacol, which is like, I think it's called 5-ASA, this kind of medication, which is like the mildest medication you can get, like not a lot of side effects. Well, there's like 6 of these huge horse pills that you need to swallow each day. So it's not pleasant at all. Didn't help for long. So this was then right after Easter. COVID just broke out and I was hospitalized in a bigger hospital in the north of Denmark. And here I got on high doses. I actually already got on steroids before, but here I got it IV, so prednisolone, 80 milligrams a day, I think it was. And I was told by people like this is tough for your body and you'll have a lot of side effects, but it will help. And I was like, oh, okay, fuck, finally. I mean, I've been in hell for months now.
Give it to me.
Guess what didn't help this on. But what it did help on, my psoriasis completely disappeared and I haven't had a single spot since. This is 6 years ago. Prednisone took it all away and I have it all over my body. I have pictures where it's like, at that point it was horrible. Now I don't have it. I have some in my hair sometimes, but that's to live with, to be honest. And I'm completely over it, which is just really fucking amazing.
Fantastic.
But it kind of changed with the Crohn's disease then. So I got prednisone, didn't help on my Crohn's. Then I got infliximab, what's also called Remicade, like the brand name of it. And the nurses told me like, this is what we called it, the golden liquid, like this helps and blah, blah, blah. And guess what didn't help? Infliximab. 20 days at the hospital. I had not had one person visit me because COVID, everyone thought, if you're in 2 meters like distance, then you're going to get it. And we don't know what happens. You might die. Your immune is suppressed. Like you need to stay away from everything. You cannot get it. I was put in a room with 3 other people. One of them, and I'm not going to say names or anything, but I think it's relevant to the history because I also want to talk a little bit about at some point in this conversation, how it is to be at the hospital, because I think it helps, but there's also some very mental detrimental things happening when you're in the hospital. But I was in a room with these 3 people, lovely woman at 60, and it was not people with digestive issues because the hospital were kind of rearranged because of COVID, right? So we just got all kind of diagnoses within one room. And this person had some kind of disorder that she literally thought that I was her son. So at least I had like a bonus mom in there. And I had some good conversations, but she believed it. And I was like, you know what? I better get the best out of this and just talk with her. And then there was a not so good episode of that where one in my room kept throwing himself off the bed, maybe 90 years old, and just kind of wanted to end it and even said so. And those things also affects you on top of the disease. Like, how are you supposed to heal when you are surrounded by people that wants to die? Chaos. Anyway, at this point, I think it was maybe a month ago, and that's the reason why I'm saying this. Me and my, at that time, girlfriend also broke up. And I was kind of devastated for some time, right? But why I'm telling you this is because then the nurse came in, the medicine didn't work. I was so low. I had anemia. I had no, like, my numbers were horrible, plummeting. And they were like, either you die or your bowel dies, because they've been talking about getting a stoma for me. And at that point, me, 25 years old, just left my girlfriend or we left each other. And it's like, my first thought was just saying, well, okay, then I'm going to die because I'm not going to get a stoma. And now looking back, it's an amazing opportunity to actually get your life back. And at some point I'll probably get it and I will be happy to get my life back from that. But at that point you're like, how am I going to live with this? Is anyone ever going to love me? I can't even eat. Can I travel? Can I work out? Can I go to a sauna? Can I swim? Like just basic questions like how do you live with not only the disease, but also stoma? So kind of in the, really, really struggling mentally as well. The doctor came in at the 11th hour and just told me, this guy doesn't need a surgery. He needs to get home from this chaos. So I got home from the hospital still super sick. And it ended up actually realizing, okay, I might get a stoma. So I looked at Instagram and I found some really, really cool people talking about how it is to live with it. And it inspired me. And it told my head, stop fighting it. Okay, like stop fighting it. It's going to be okay. The moment my head stopped fighting my body, I started healing. that's the crazy thing, right? Because your mind controls so much in this disease. Stress affects it. And unfortunately, I started healing. I got another biologic medication in Tuvio for 3 years, which I was great. So it ended up, I don't have a stoma right now, right? But this is like most of the story here. I have a lot of other fun and serious stories about this journey, but it was a long journey to get to the point where, okay, now something is working from the first symptom. And that's what I want to state here. I wish there was better systems to actually take it serious when someone comes and tells you, hey, I have blood in my stools. That was a long one, but yeah.
No, and there's so many points I want to circle back to, because you hit on so many things that I know from my own life, and so many people listening to this will have experienced. First of all, how hard it is for parents and those around us to experience us going through such bad health issues. Like, for your father to be able to say he doesn't know, do you know, that must be heartbreaking for that man to be able to not give answers to his son. So it's not just us that suffers, it's everyone in our network around us that feels the pain of what we're going through, the helplessness and the inability to fix the situation. So thank you for sharing that, because it's something we all know, but it's not a very regularly spoken topic that we dive into, but
no,
it 100% affects everyone in our ecosystem. But another thing then, where you mentioned about the hospital, like, the hospital is not a place you get better. A hospital is a place you go to fix whatever severe issues happen in the moment, and the real healing happens when you go home, especially when you're put into a ward with other people who are having their own severe issues going on. Like, and in fairness, you're the type of person who was able to adapt and go with what that woman was experiencing. While you're in pain and feeling sick and feeling terrible, you were able to do a kindness to that woman to help her out. And I'm sure that wasn't easy for you when you're thinking, oh, just let me just lie here in the bed and leave. Very tough. And then to experience what that other man was going through, where he's at the end of his life, doesn't want to continue anymore. When you're at a point of thinking, my life's so uncertain, is this where I'm going to end up? Is this like the direction I'm going?
Exactly.
I know myself from being in hospital, it's great when you get a private room, which is very, very unusual. You're thinking, this is the Ritz. I'm in a 5-star. It's amazing. I know.
So true.
Completely. But I was in hospital around COVID time too. And I had the antibodies in my system from previously having it. So when I tested positive, but I didn't actually have it. So they put me into a private room and isolated me. And because the nurses knew I didn't have it, they were like, it's so manic. They used to come in and sit me into my bed being like, oh, this is just where we come for a bit of peace. And I had peace because I didn't have to deal with anyone. But then shortly after that, once they were sure that I didn't have COVID, they moved me onto an 8-bed dorm. And chaos, just like that. Yeah. People screaming.
8 beds.
8 beds. Yeah.
8 beds.
8 beds.
Wow.
Yeah, it was tough.
Is that typical?
There are quite a lot. I think there's even 16. Now, don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. But there's definitely 8 beds. 4, 6, and 8 are the main, I wouldn't say most popular, but the most common ones.
I mean, it works in a dorm room in Australia, but not so much for this.
I wouldn't even say in a hostel. When I'm healthy, I wouldn't say an 8-bed dorm.
Yeah,
but when you're put into that situation and when you're not really feeling well, it can suck the life out of you. When you're already in a dark period yourself, definitely, I know we have to go to hospital to fix the issue and get the help that we need, but the real healing starts when you get home. Like that doctor said, you need to get out of the chaos to get home.
Exactly. But it's also a tough balance, right? So just on that, it's also a tough balance, because I got to say, to all the healthcare professionals that are taking care of me in the hospitals and have done it so many times, they're angels. They are making me go through this, but it's still surrounded by a lot of sickness. Yeah, that was just a comment on it.
No, completely. And I can safely say that the nurses that I have dealt with in hospitals have been the reason I've been able to get out of hospital. Do you know?
Agree.
They do a vocation, and I know myself personally, I don't think I could ever be a nurse, because I don't think I have not even the caring element, but like it's very severe. I'm sure it's tough on the body and tough on the mind, like, and you have to be a particular type of person to do it. But going through that, you've had a lot of, not just the physical symptoms that you've experienced. Obviously, there's a real mental weight that comes with this. For your own mental health, what have you done to kind of help improve it, or to kind of help you get through what you're going through?
It's a great question. And I think what works for me, I also just want to say, it might not work for others, but it could inspire, because all of our journeys are, they're so unique, but we all unite in about how to live with it. So that's the one thing we have in common. And I think mentally, first, I really, really needed to find someone that could say, by the way, I also have that exact experience. Like, just feeling like, okay, someone else is dealing with this. Someone else is living their life with this. Just a recognition of, hey, I will be able to live normally. And that could just be actually by either talking with one or just seeing a simple post with the same symptoms. It's really weird, but you get this confirmation that there's a way forward. So that was like the first step. And like also just mentally for me, I'm a very data driven person, and I look a lot at like, I need things to make sense. So I needed to find out, what is it that I suffer from, first of all? Why is it doing this? Okay, it's an autoimmune decision like psoriasis. So maybe some of the things that I did for that could help for this. And, just starting working my way around, like, how does the disease really manifest in my body and what kind of patterns do I see? That's one thing. But then I think one of the biggest mistakes I did, and that's probably what I would tell myself at diagnosis age, is, Oliver, you need to be patient. This is not just a scratch on your arm that's going to go away in 7 days. This is something you need to live with. And the flares can last 3, 6, 9 months. And you need to find a way to do that. And because I was so hesitant to just like, I want to get back to my old life. And that's a long journey when you can't. That is impossible to get back to the exact old life that you had. You need to find a new great way of living your life, which you can, and you will at some point. But patience is, and I wish someone told me that, hey, you need to be patient with this. But no, it's like, hey, it was more like, let's see if the drugs work. It's like, okay. So that to me, I wanted to change that. Now mentally, going back to the thing about who was next to me in this journey, my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, like all of them, I saw how much it impacted them, and my friends, and simply because they loved me. So it hurts to see someone around you and be completely helpless. So I started thinking, how can I integrate the people I love in my life into my journey without it having a toll on me and without making them feel helpless? So giving them some kind of agency in dealing with it. And I started being like, okay, are you okay with me talking about this like this? Do you want to hear more about it or less about it? So you kind of align it with like any relationship, whether it's romantic or it's business relationship. It's like, okay, how are we communicating here? How should we do this? And I think that's the first step for those around you, because once you have that structure, you feel more normal. You feel like the old life is returning because you have some kind of structure around it. Then I think mentally, I struggle a lot mentally still, Jonathan. Like I think it was quite lucky/unlucky, but 2 days ago I got like a mini flare, and I got into this mindset again of, I was super anxious, right? But I'm trying to remind myself that I am still here. I'm still doing pretty good. It's 6 years now. I'm adjusting. I will adjust to this flare when it comes. You get like a mindset that you didn't have 6 years ago, that's for sure. And now you can use that every time.
The resilience that it, and I kind of hate the word resilience for some reason, because I feel it thrown around so much. It's like a common use. Oh, everyone gets so resilient when they become chronically ill. But it is the word that fits the bill, really, because you develop such strength to be able to say to yourself, even when you're going through a bad time, right, I'm just going to look at the positive things here to change my mind about what's going on. And that's a strength that really comes, because it's so easy to look at the negative when you're experiencing the negative, and when you're anxious and everything just feels shit. It's so easy to allow yourself down that rabbit hole. But to put the ladder in place to make sure you keep climbing back up out of it is a strength that is great to hear you yourself use. And it's advice for people who might be in that hole, who are saying, fuck, I can't see the light. But I just want to go back to as well what you said there about the people around you, and being so honest with letting them in and knowing what is going on and developing that open line of communication. Communication is hard, especially when you're experiencing some stuff going on mentally and physically, to actually, I suppose, bare your soul in a sense and show people who you are, nuts and bolts and everything that's going on. But the only way people can actually understand, because they're not living it, they're looking at it from the outside, they can't see into your mind, they don't know what's going on here. But if you give them a window so that they can understand, and then they actually have the ability, as I said, you give them agency to help you, because they have a better understanding of what you need in that moment. So I think honesty, clarity, and really developing those lines of communication with the people around you isn't just for you, it's for them as well. So yeah, that's fantastic advice. Yeah. You also said as well that when, as things go on, and you mentioned at the start that you've integrated Crohn's into your life. So I'd like to speak today about Chronicare, because you are doing some fantastic work in the IBD space.
Thank you. Yeah, would you like me to talk a little bit about how I...
Tell us how it came about, tell us what it is, let's go.
Thank you. So yeah, first of all, thank you for saying that. This is actually a true story, but I had the idea of Chronicare 12 years ago when I first got the psoriasis, when it first manifested as a mental thing where I was feeling alone. And I remember I found out that my best friend that I have been walking around for like 6-7 years, I was telling him that I'm feeling a little bit down, and I had to tell him I have something called psoriasis, and he just started kind of laughing, and I was like, well, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that. He laughed because he had it himself. And we were best friends. We were so close, living right next to each other. And then I just realized, okay, isn't it insane that you can walk next to someone so close to you and still not be able to tell him or her about how you're feeling and what this disease is and so on. I was like, okay, there needs to be a space for this. There needs to be a space where people can connect and actually find out you're not alone. So that was kind of the birth of Chronicare. And I remember we were actually traveling in Thailand on the basic Southeast Asia, Thailand backpacking trip. And he's a photographer, my friend. And I started writing down the idea of Chronicare in a little notebook. I still have it from Thailand. I bought it in Pai City. And he started filming this. And that's actually the first kind of evidence of Chronicare. Now, I came home from this trip and I wanted to do something about it. This was like gap years after my high school experience. And I started building wireframes and actually went on to got offered investment and at the age of 19. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know shit about creating a company. So I am going to not take that and I'm going to I'm going to go towards doing this and prepare me for having success in it. So that's the reason why I went to study business in my bachelor. That's the reason why I moved after my bachelor to Germany, to Berlin, to work in startup environments. After that, I went to Copenhagen to study innovation in healthcare and work in biotech. So I kind of got the whole, startup, the medications, the innovation in healthcare. And in the meantime, I got Crohn's, which it integrated quite perfectly into the goal of that. And I realized if there is any condition, because I also researched a lot of conditions, if there's any conditions that really requires this kind of solution that I'll get to in a minute of what it really is, it's people living with IBD. Because when you have IBD, you are typically medically treated. Okay, like you do have some good medical options. When you're at a hospital, you do get your help. But once I left that hospital, I was on my own. How do I live with this disease? All these questions, all these concerns, all this anxiety, it eventually for me turned into depression and health anxiety. And it just really, sentiment like confirmed that I needed to do this. So last year, I applied. I felt ready and I applied for like this accelerator program that takes in people that wants to be entrepreneurs. Here it's like a 3-month program. It's called Antler. And I met my 2 now very good friends and very, very good co-founders, Stefan and Alex, who themselves either had, diseases themselves or cared for someone. And they could see the vision here. And the vision was that we needed to create a world where no one lives alone with chronic illness, where they feel that there's no taboo, there's no stigma. There's always someone or something that you can kind of reflect your journey in, even though that you have unique journeys. Again, I want to repeat that we're united in finding out how to live with it. So we need to create the infrastructure to actually do that. So Chronicare started with that thought, but it also quickly turned into something even more important. I told you I'm very data driven and I want to understand how does my body work. And we kind of integrated the community aspect with some very, very simple, beautifully designed tracking features for your symptoms, for your bowel movements, for your medication, all of these things that the doctors are asking for anyway, like how you been since last? And I'm sitting there with brain fog and fatigue and being like, up and down. I'm not going to get the right treatment from that answer. So that's what we are actively doing right now. We're building out solutions for what happens in between the clinical visits. It's really that simple. We want patients to be able to manage their disease and feel less alone in it. And we are full on creating the solution for people with IBD right now. I'm super excited about what's happening. We have so many people that recently have told us how they actually used it with their doctor. We had one that says, this might change my life. We had one that says, this might actually make my team with IBD understand how to take care of himself before going into the real world without the mom. That feedback, that is what we feed on to be able to just keep giving these new experiences through our solution. And I'm really, I'm going to say it, I'm really proud of what we built and I'm really happy seeing that it helps a lot of people. Yeah, it's now a company that I work full-time in and I integrated Crohn's into my life in the best way possible, for me at least.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I often say things like you have to turn our pain into a purpose, and you have 110% done that. And by turning it into purpose, you're actually helping to alleviate the pain that other people are experiencing and leaving your stamp on the world, because that's when you suffer with chronic illness and you see the ripple effect that it has through every facet of your life, you have such empathy for everyone else experiencing it. And if you can do anything to help them, you will. And you're bringing tech, you're making your full-time career helping people, which is a fantastic thing to do. And I know, as you said, you're logical and data driven. It's very hard to be so logical when you're dealing with IBD because it's not a logical disease in any sense. It is just mind blowing. When it comes to Chronicare, at this moment in time, is it available for download in every country?
Yes, it is. We have made it available globally for everyone. It's both for Android, it's for iPhone, iOS. We want to, like, our goal is to become that number one platform for people to manage their IBD, and that includes the entire world. And right now we're actually rolling out in Australia, and so the nurses are giving it out to the patients in Australia, and soon we're doing it in Armenia. We just translated like a flyer into Armenian, which is quite cool. And then, of course, this is not just from my experience. We are working with gastro doctors, with nurses, with the industry, people making products for us as well. And we just want to listen, learn, and then turn that into features. So it's available for everyone. It's free. Please go check it out if you have a need, and there's no strings attached.
Yeah, I will 100% make sure that I pop the link in the description and everything like that. And I know the focus, as we're speaking about here, is IBD, but as a journal for other people, like there's a lot of different chronic illnesses that kind of tune in to listen. Is it just a chronic illness space for people to record everything? Is there features wise, what are we looking at?
Right, it's a great question. I think in the beginning we thought about like, okay, let's really include everyone. But when you try to be something for everyone, you are nothing for no one. Like it's you need to kind of choose your market first. And I think the biggest need, of course, luckily I don't have every other condition in the world, but
small blessings.
Yeah, I just see the need. I think it's so big in IBD. So right now we are actually making the features quite specifically. So things like bowel movements, it's very relevant for people with IBD, and we're making it easy to just put a scale on, okay, how's the urgency today? The pain, the blood, the mucus, log it, you have the timestamp, you get the insights. So that's very IBD specific. But then we're also creating features that at some point we will go into other diseases when we believe that now we've done what we need to have like the baseline for IBD. And this would be, we haven't decided on it yet, but this could easily be conditions like multiple sclerosis, which also goes in flares, right? And there's also a big need to not feel alone in it. A lot of isolating diseases, unfortunately, out there. But right now, it's IBD specific features. And IBS patients with IBS, you can use the exact same tracking because it's also relevant for your journey.
Yeah, 100%. It's brilliant when you have detailed knowledge, because as you said earlier, like you go in and you speak to your gastro and they'll ask you a question and the straight away reaction is fine. So it's just a reflex. But if you can come in with details, I suppose, of the previous couple of months since you've seen them, we even forget. You go in and you go, oh yeah, this I'm fine, I'm feeling fine today, but maybe a month ago you're in a flail that you completely forgot about. Whereas if you can hand them information that they can flick through and go, oh, we're starting to see a pattern here, or because you're experiencing this. Yeah, I think it's invaluable for people.
Exactly. Can I just put one other comment to that? Because it's also important when we build this, we know the strain on the healthcare system, what is happening specifically within gastro departments. IBD is rising globally. And unfortunately, it's also younger and younger people that gets the disease. I think the median age is like 23, 24, something for age of diagnosis. So not only did we want to empower the patients to see how are they doing with their own, but we also ask the doctors, in order to not overcomplicate things when patients comes with like huge amount of data, how do we make this into like the most digestible for you guys? So what the real value here is actually, you have 15 minutes normally with your gastro that you're waiting months for. If you spend 10 minutes on that, on trying to remember how you felt, and the doctor needs to read that, you have no room to talk for treatment options or what's the next steps. So this is supposed to be like, how have you been doing? Here it is, 1-page report since the last 3 months. Okay, now we know how this is going with this medication. Let's look at what's the next steps here. Then you have 14 minutes instead of 4. And that's really the valuable thing for patients and doctors and the healthcare system. So we feel like it's this win-win solution that we're creating here. And really, I also think IBD is such, as you said, so difficult to get your head around, because one day you can eat a tomato and be fine, and the next day you are in a flare. And I think it's just important to empower patients with the tools to be able to at least start recognizing some patterns. right? And if we are to alleviate the pressure on the healthcare system and in these departments, we need to include the patients in this, because we cannot just build new hospitals. There's no fund for that. But we have the patients and they are eager to be part of it. So make them part of it. Make them understand the difficult words of those medications. Make them understand what's the Bristol scale. Like, education in this can also help patients and doctors a lot.
You're putting the power back into people's hands, and we all know ourselves, chronic illness and being in hospital, and even on the doctors on both sides of the table, there's such a time loss because everyone is rushing and you're trying to get your point across. And when we're not feeling well, it's very hard to get your point across. And for doctors, they're under time pressure as well, where they're thinking, okay, we need to get to the base of this quite quickly. Whereas, as you said, if you can show to someone in black and white, you're really giving yourself power to get the best treatment that you possibly can. And also, as you said, it's for both sides of the table. So it's a fantastic piece of technology you're developing there.
Thank you. Yeah, we luckily see it helping, so it's nice to get that confirmation too.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And what is the plans for you over maybe the next 6 months to a year, just to keep kind of pushing it out and getting more eyes on it?
Of Chronicare, right now we're looking into what is the next thing that we can help the patients with. People that we talked about that I was scheduled for surgery in the beginning of this conversation, and it's a natural extension of a lot of people with IBD's life getting a stoma. So per definition, that's part of IBD, and therefore we also need to help these patients. So right now we're doing research on what might help you guys. Also, none of this will ever cost anything for anyone. So we're just interested in like getting to know and learn from those people and then channel that into our design and feature set. And that's, I think, over the next 6-12 months, we want to get it in the hands of healthcare professionals to give it to the patients, especially right after diagnosis, because that's where you're most confused. Now, maybe I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but my dream with Chronicare is that the doctors are saying, here's the medication, this is what you need to take, how you do this. Here's a QR code for Chronicare. This is how you live with the disease. That is where we want to go. So we just want to get it out there as much as possible and then keep iterating and making it better and better.
And that really breaks down the barriers, because I know myself when I was first diagnosed, it is over 20 something years ago now at this stage. My symptoms started at 9, got diagnosed at 11. I'm 33 now. But at that time, finding information was impossible. There was impossible to figure out who else has this, what's going on, what's my life going to be like. Whereas with the technology like that, if you could get to a point where the doctor is advising you when you get diagnosed, we have an app where you can literally, all the information you would possibly need is here, and there's other users on it as well. Is there a way for users to interact?
Yeah, well, you can. Right now, our community is quite simple. So we have a lot of users that's just posting either their wins or their concerns and so on. And I think that's also an important point to make. Having communities of people that are all in the low state of the disease can actually be a bit dangerous, because it can create an echo chamber of people dragging each other down. So it's important that the community is moderated in a sense, and that we make sure to actually impose positive thinking around this. It's so important that we acknowledge that this is a fucking horrible disease. It is. It sucks. It's I would not wish it for anyone. Once that's acknowledged, then you take the next step. Okay, how do I actually turn this around to something positive? And that's the kind of vibe that we want in the community. So right now it's only is community posting, but we will actually integrate at some point that you can, of course, connect or chat with each other. But more importantly, we want to make journeys and challenges and going together around. It's amazing what you're doing on Instagram right now with the Runs Club. Right? Yeah. I love that. I absolutely love that. And that's the kind of same thing that we could make people go on the same journey, trying out this diet or trying out this kind of exercise protocol, or you on this medication. Okay, well, maybe you can follow 30 other people that's also going through exact same. So that turns it into, I often say that we want to be some kind of Strava model where you actually, you take what you track and then you go together around it with other people. And you celebrate the wins, and you like when it's going great. And that also enables a community of just people supporting each other. So that's where we are.
How empowering to be able to go down the journey with other people who are going through exactly the same. You can learn from each other. You can share the wins, losses, to prevent maybe someone else having to make the same mistakes, or be like, I've cracked the code here. This works for me. Fantastic thing to do. I love that idea, the Strava model, completely with groups and stuff. It's a brilliant. It sounds like you're really onto something special, man. I have to commend you. That's fantastic work to do.
Thank you so much.
With one thing I'd like to talk about is you're quite vocal on social media and you're very good at getting your point across. What inspired you to first start sharing your story?
Actually, I've been wanting to do that for a while, because I've been feeling there's not enough people knowing about the disease. I think like 6 years ago to now, a lot have happened. And a lot of people know, well, almost everyone knows someone with IBD today, which is both good and bad. It's bad because there are more people getting in, and it's good because the public or people that do not have it starts to understand it better. Me speaking publicly about it, it was always very scared of it. Like, what will people think, right? Like, oh my God, why don't he just get over it and like don't make his disease his life? And it's like, well, you know what? It is not my life, but it is part of my life, and it will be for the rest of my life. And it's so difficult explaining to someone what it is that you're going through mentally, but also physically. And I think just getting it out there on social media, I was scared in the beginning, but then I saw how much support I got back. How amazing is that? I'm there trying to create awareness, and then I'm benefiting more from it than maybe others are. That's, it's just like, it's an amazing feeling seeing that what you are telling to people out there with diseases or not, that it resonates. And it just made me realize how many of us there actually are out there that needs this. I have this one TikTok where I'm actually explaining that it's like you're standing in front of this big black dark cave and you are yelling into it all your frustrations, all your anxiety, just to get it off your chest, right? And then suddenly it starts echoing back, and like these, like more and more people come out of this cave. And it's like you are so many people hiding away in these caves, being afraid of saying how you really feel. And when you started doing that, there's like this ripple effect and more people doing it, and you get a community. And I met you, and it was like, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a fantastic thing to do, because the more voices that are added to that, the less alone people will feel. Because even if you, for example, hear someone talking about it, you don't really like their vibe, there's someone else talking about it, you can find your tribe with it and really get a good understanding and not feel the isolation that can be enforced with chronic illness. So it's a fantastic thing to do. And I know myself, when you say about the community, when I first started sharing my story, it was always my deepest, darkest secret. Even my friends, they knew I was sick. They knew I'd had the surgeries, but I never talked to them about it. And then I was actually able to help a woman who said the same thing that I said, being like, I'd rather be dead than have a stoma bag. And when I was able to show her my lived experience, be like, life does change, but it's not the life you built up in your head. It's not the end of your life. It's actually the start of a new one. And from that experience, I thought, wow, I actually do have some stuff up here that maybe some other people will benefit with. So I just started sharing my story after my most recent surgery. And I got more from me telling my story and people getting back to me being like, oh, this is what I did to do this, and different things like that. And even the validation that people would say, being like, you said that so perfectly. It's been something I've always wanted to share with a family member, but didn't know how to go about it. So I showed them your video. You're thinking, I've actually been able to give a positive to that person's life from starting to share and starting to talk. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic thing to do.
That's amazing. And I really love what you said there. It's not the end of your life. It's like the start of a new. It's just, that's the way you kind of need to think, right? But it might take time to get there, but I think it's beautiful.
It took me a while to get there. When it first happened, I was not thinking, oh, this great new life, but that's it. And when you go online and you can see someone else and be like, oh, that person's gone traveling, that person's playing sport, that person's doing this. In my own head, I had concocted this false reality of what my life is going to be. I thought, what woman is ever going to want me? I'll never be able, my friends are going to think I'm weak. I'll never be able to. Me and the lads used to always be mess fighting and, horseplay or whatever. I thought, sure, the lads are going to think I'm like fine china, I'll be fragile, they won't touch me. They still hit me the way they used to, it's fine. It's just seeing someone else and their lived experience to know that to prevent these false realities and prevent these dark holes from consuming us completely. So it's great to add the voices to everyone's to keep building on this. We've hit pretty much everything that I want to go through. I'm going to give you the floor and invite you to speak on anything you want. So
I think what I've also learned from having diseases is that the way I act, because a lot of times I can feel angry or depressed or sad, and that comes from a place. I've learned that from seeing myself. Why am I feeling like this? Well, that's because I'm going through a lot. I'm using that a lot right now to understand that when everyone is, I want to say this, like, always remember, when someone is in one kind of negative feeling, ask yourself, not if it's negative towards you, but like, what's happening in his or her life since she's feeling this. That's the kind of insights you get. And you know what? There's always a story behind the feeling. And you never listen to the story. You just take that feeling and take it like, that's his or her problem or something. But ask, like, just be genuine and ask when you can feel this. And that goes for with chronic diseases or people without. This whole thing, I think such a big part for me is people around me. Like, just be honest with them. Just talk. I've been isolating so much because I didn't want to be a burden. I still do it sometimes, and I choose it wisely. And I've also isolated from relationships. But you know what? If they can't deal with that and if they don't help you, well, then they're not the right people for you to have in your life. And that's also a beautiful thing, that you kind of cut through the noise very quickly with a disease. You find the people that really matters. I think that's just a thing I wanted to get out there.
Yeah, no, and that's fantastic insight, because the human mind is a very funny construct, and it's constructed by all the circumstances and all the things we learn along the path of the journey to get to where we are. And sometimes someone can be experiencing something from a previous experience. It isn't actually how the moment is manifesting. So I think having genuine curiosity as to why people are acting in a certain way or feeling what they're feeling is a great way to kind of move towards more healing rather than judgment. So yeah.
Yes.
It's a fantastic
Absolutely.
thing to share. Oliver, you've been an absolutely fantastic guest, and I want to ask you one question, because I love getting the perspective that people have on this. What does happiness mean to you?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. It's a process, right? But I always find things that makes me happy, but I haven't found happiness yet. What makes me happy? I'm realizing that genuine relationships, I mean, it's just, and it sounds so simple, but a lot of people, they are, including myself, they're like chasing for the wrong things. And then they realize too late what actually matters. And oftentimes that is the relationships. And that's to me, that's like finding out and spending time with the right people. And I still have a lot to do here and work on. And then I think it's just happiness is that when you somehow understand that you need to enjoy this process, even when it's fucking shit. You can actually find moments of happiness in the darkest places if you really think about, instead of, oh no, now I'm here again. It's more like, oh, you know what? I made it this far. I made it over 5 times this flare. I'm not saying that it's, it's pure happiness, but it's like, it's empowering. And it leads to happiness, having this mindset at some point. I'm not saying to enjoy your flare. Well, if you can, great. But try to turn it into, there's always something waiting at the other end. And then I think happiness is also just, I found it a lot from giving purpose, like having a purpose here. We got so much incredible support from what we're building, but also just one-on-one hearing this from you, that you appreciate what I was posting on TikTok. There's nothing to do with my company in that sense. It's just genuinely speaking out and seeing it help someone, and like your story as well. That makes me happy, honestly. That's
I completely agree. And there's a quote that springs to mind when you speak there. Give a man a purpose and the ability to achieve it, and he will crawl over broken glass with a smile. And I think when you have purpose, you can get through the whole journey. You realize it's a journey, and you think, right, whatever I'm going through in this moment is what's crafting me to become who I'm going to become. And to me, that's happiness, is knowing that I've gone through what I have gone through to become who I'm going to become. And I think always remembering that it is a journey, and as hard as it can possibly be, there are brighter days ahead. Definitely.
I love that. Can I ask you a counter question before we stop here?
Of
So
course.
that's how you see happiness, and I absolutely love that. How often do you feel it? Because I'm thinking myself, like, how often am I supposed to feel happy? It's not normal to feel happy all the time.
No, and that's it. What's the point in all these emotions? If we felt happy all the time, we'd just be going around like zombie-like fools. That's not life. And happiness, I listened to a Buddhist monk before who said, you're not actually supposed to strive for happiness. You're supposed to strive for peace, because peace is a nice baseline to have. Whereas happiness comes and goes, and it's fleeting. Whereas we have to experience sadness for particular reasons. There's reasons all these emotions exist. And if we are in one too much, we're completely off balance. So I think getting a snippet and getting moments of each of these is a much balanced way to look at it. But I think recognizing what happiness is, sometimes you look back and you go, oh, that actually was a good time. Whereas being present in the moment allows you to really understand and really acknowledge happiness or sadness, as the case may be.
I absolutely love that. It also reminds me of, I can't remember who said this. It's peace is the ability to be able to hold 2 contrasting feelings at once. You can be really, really happy about where you are, and you can be really, really depressed about it at the same time. And once you realize that that's okay to hold contradicting feelings at once, well, then you kind of found your peace, right? And but it's fucking difficult. I don't know how to do it.
Fucking difficult just sums it up completely.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good, right? I'm always good at giving advice, but I'm not too good at following them always.
Yeah, well, my friends would come to me for advice, and then when I go to give myself advice to do something, I'm like, oh, fuck that.
Exactly. Yeah, man, that resonates.
Oliver, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
Likewise. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation. And if you want to talk to me again at some point, then, let's take another round.
100%. I feel we've only scratched the surface on so many things we can dive into. So yeah, definitely we'll get something in the book.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That was episode 30 of The Survival Project. What I really loved about this conversation is that it goes far beyond the diagnosis and the treatment. It just speaks to what so many people living with chronic illness feel, but struggle to put into words. And that's the isolation. That's the fear and the patience it demands. It's really a slow process of learning how to build a life around something that you never asked for. And a massive credit to Oliver, who's created something genuinely meaningful with Chronicare, turning his own lived experience into something that really can help others feel more support in their journey and more understood. If you'd like to check it out, the link is going to be in the description. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. Do me a favor, please like, follow, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Maybe pop us a rating. It all helps the podcast grow and reach more ears. I'll be back next week with episode 31, where I'll speak to famously talented photographer Levi Walker about his world turned upside down with IBD. So I'll see you next week.